Hi, this is Lily, and I'm here with April from HolisticHorseWorks. We have a question from a listener. They said they had a horse that was acting up and they were going to send it to a trainer, but is it really a training problem, or is it the horse trying to tell them that they're in pain?
So what I've noticed, when we've been taught that if the horse doesn't want to canter to the left or the right, or doesn't, want to do a certain thing in their body, that they're being stubborn on purpose, or it's a weakness. I remember training horses and it didn't want to canter to the right. And I was told, well, it's just weak on that side. So you have to make them do 3 times as many circles to the right as to the left, when actually it's because the right shoulder can't move correctly. And the horse is in its own way saying, I don't want to go that way. It's kind of like you getting up and someone telling you to paint the ceiling and your neck and shoulder hurts. You're like, I don't want to do it, but they make you do it every single day. You're going to have compensations in other areas of your body. And that's the same thing with the horses. So if you're looking at horse language and you brush them somewhere and they pin their ears, that's an area of pain. If you put a saddle blanket on and they're pinning their ears and shivering their withers, that's letting you know that ribs and withers are not in perfect alignment. And muscles, when they over tighten and create spasms, shorten. So then they pull bones too close together. And that's your kissing spine in your withers and your lumbar area. So it's a lot easier and cheaper if we can start listening to the horses at a younger age. Is it a stubborn behavioral issue, or is there something uncomfortable in the body and they don't want to do it that way? If you start looking at the hooves of the horse, and so you can look at them from the front and the side, but also about 10 feet behind the horse when they're on a flat, hard surface, look at the feet from the rear. You're going to see 4 hooves out of balance. I can tell you by how those hooves are what's going on higher up in the body. In the hind hooves, you'll probably see no inside heel and the hoof flaring out. And in the front, you might see a crushed inside heel and a flare out as well. That tells me the inner muscles, pectorals, inside your psoas and your hocks are over tight, not allowing the joint to move correctly. And then we create extra stress by keep asking the horse to do the same thing that's already creating pain in the first place. So if the right shoulder or right hip can't move correctly, they have to borrow extra from the left side to try and do that. And then when you go to bed in a tight paddock or a tight stall and you can't move the tension out in your muscles, they lock up. And that's what creates your chiropractic issues. But most chiropractors just come and fix the withers and the spine and the hips and don't look for the cause. So, and I do distance readings for people for about 13 years now, and it gets you a 7-page report of what's really going on in your horse. And it's 99.9% of the time not training issues. It's pain issues. The atlas and axis and the pole can't move correctly. So your horse is, 1, not going to want to take the bit, and 2, be heavy and argumentative on the bit because their left side TMJ is locked up. So you think they don't want to give to left rein when actually they can't. So pulling their head to the side or continually sawing on the bit is actually doing damage to the TMJ joint. So it can't even allow them to chew correctly. And then you're going to get into dental floating. When you get down to the base of the neck, where C6 and C7 come into the thoracics, the first rib gets misaligned by like 6 months of age in these holes. Anytime you run across a mud bog and that leg gets sucked down, or they take a tumble. And then you're going to have the high-low hoof syndrome. And then high-low hoof syndrome is like you standing all day at work with barefoot on your left foot and high heel on your right foot. It's going to shift your hips higher up. And that's what puts the ribs and withers out, so that when you put the saddle on that area, it's painful for them. I've seen people do a thermograph of a horse and like the withers are red and one side of the back is red and the hip is red. Those are all the areas of inflammation, but you need to find out where it starts. So my distance reading is quite in depth. It's 7 pages of what's going on with the horse. It's like a medical intuitive, but asking viral and bacterial, what's going on in the body, what bones are not in alignment, and then going down through the joints where there's pain. They'll say my horse doesn't want to take right lead canter. Well, first rib is out on right side, the knee hurts, the fetlock hurts, and there's some bruising in the sole. So when you can find all that, you can see why the horse doesn't want to take right lead canter. And when you do my program, which is everything from teeth to tail, we look at the balance of the head, creating, imbalances in the dental, and if the TMJ can't move correctly, the hind end pelvis, which is in alignment with that, cannot move correctly as well. So when you stand behind that horse and you're looking at the hooves out of balance, you're like, wow. Because when we look at the front, the farrier or trimmer can round that front really nice, make them look so pretty. Look at those feet. But go stand 10 feet behind your horse, squat down and look at those feet. You're going to be like, oh my God, there's 4 feet that don't match. Now stand on a bucket, and look at your horse's top line. You'll see one hip higher, one side back lower, one shoulder bigger, and the withers going off, and the hair usually flipping at the withers. And we're putting a straight saddle that's hard on that back, tightening the girth so that we don't slip. So you're forcing a crooked body into a hard, straight saddle to work. And people wonder why they buck, on the first canter, because it hurts. It's pushing into their crooked back. So my whole program is, release the shoulder, lift these ribs, realign this pelvis. And it's really easy in my home study program. There's no big words, mediolaterally rotated. I just say if you push here and the horse is reactive, this is how you fix it. And we go through the whole horse from nose to tail and hoof up. Is your frog off center? Is the hoof even landing correctly? Is the hoof landing heel to toe or toe to heel? You don't have training and behavior issues. You don't have saddle fit issues. You don't have getting bucked off and hospital issues. It's a really easy way. And you'll see all the testimonials we have that, oh my God, I have a whole new relationship with my horse. They nicker at me and they tell me if a rib's out by pointing at it. And, we have amazing rides now together and flying lead changes. And the testimonials I get just really warm my heart. So you can start with my free ebook, HorseAcademy101.com. And I have a Horse 102 Holistic Alternatives on Amazon. I have a home study program, which you get my help, and a free distance reading on my website, Equine, Musculoskeletal, and Winding, so that you can learn how to fix your horse yourself. And then there's hardly any training left to do. The horse wants to be with you. So give me a jingle or email me, April@HolisticHorseWorks.com.